Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. There was a 9-second video posted to Twitter yesterday. It was not really in the national news, more of a local story, but it was an incredibly revealing moment about how Republicans are going about trying to reelect Donald Trump. So here's what happens. There's a reporter. His name is Matt Smith. Matt's with WISNT TV out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Channel 12. He camped out at the election, and this is what he got.
How many signatures did you collect?
That video had the feel of a local reporter being somewhere in the right place, the right time, and catching someone in the act. That woman who he asked the question of really did not seem to want to be on camera. And there's a really good reason for that. The woman you see there, right there, giving the no comment, she is a Wisconsin lawyer. Her name is Lane Ruland. And as recently as last week, Lane Ruland was representing Donald Trump's presidential campaign in court. She is a Republican elections lawyer who worked for the Republican National Committee during the 2016 recount in Wisconsin. Okay? But she was not at the Elections Commission building doing business for the President of the United States or for the Trump campaign. No. She was dropping off ballot signatures in an effort to get this man on the presidential ballot in Wisconsin, Kanye West, one of the most famous people in the country who is kind of sort of running for president, though he has no real platform and it's unclear if this is like a real thing or not. But there was a filing deadline yesterday in Wisconsin. And so what did you have? You had this Republican election lawyer who works for Trump's campaign, who worked on the 2016 election trying to get him elected, trying to get Kanye West on the ballot. And it was not just her. At least 5 Republicans are involved in trying to get West on the ballot in various states, including a convention delegate for Donald Trump and a guy who was under consideration to be Trump's campaign manager in 2015. Basically, most everyone involved in Kanye West's sort of presidential campaign, if you can even call that, they're all just Republican hacks. And I'm going to talk to a reporter who's been doing great deep dives on who these people are and what they're up to in just a moment. But all of this makes something really clear, which is this. Republicans know that Donald Trump cannot win with a majority of the country. We all know that, right? That ship has sailed. I mean, look at the polls. Trump has not had a 50% approval rating at any point in his entire presidency. In the 538 polling average, he's just a little above 40% right now, down near like the bottom where his floor is, around 40. He is just extremely and enduringly unpopular from when he was elected to now. It's also fair to say that based on the data we have, that Trump's absolute ceiling in a popular vote is probably around the 46% of the vote he got last time. Like that's the top, okay? So think about this. How do you become president when you're unpopular? How do you win the presidency? In order to win the presidency, Republicans basically need to do a bunch of things. They need to stack up a bunch of things to pull out what they did last time when Donald Trump won, despite losing the popular vote by 3 million votes. One thing they have to do is try to split the anti-Trump vote, because remember, that's a majority of the country. Has been since the day he was elected. Remember, in 2016, there were a handful of third-party candidates. You had Jill Stein, you had Gary Johnson, then there was Evan McMullin, among others. Combined, they won nearly 8 million votes. And now, in the absence of any other notable spoiler candidates, Republicans are obviously pinning their hopes on Kanye West to siphon off enough votes to squeeze Donald Trump through. But that's just one part of the strategy, right? That alone is not enough. You also need to make it hard for people to vote, to try to suppress the votes of Democratic voters, which the Republican Party is aggressively trying to do. And then they also have to hope in the next few months, say, Russia delivers or some other foreign adversary. They give them some big gift they can use. I don't know, a big hack trove of Hunter Biden emails. Maybe just something you can use to try to destroy Joe Biden. And then you've also got your Attorney General, William Barr, in the Department of Justice, and maybe they can intervene as well. And maybe when you stack all that up, all those sort of dirty tricks, that's enough to get your wildly unpopular candidate overseeing a once-in-a-century catastrophe with 160,000 dead Americans elected president. It feels like a totally different strategy for victory than we have ever seen. But part of it is not completely new, right? I mean, back when Richard Nixon's henchmen the criminals who helped him, who ended up going to jail, when they were doing this kind of thing, they had a name for it. They called it rat copulating, though they used a more obscene version of that phrase. And one of the #1 operatives in the country who specializes in doing that is a guy with a Nixon tattoo on his back who, lo and behold, is a friend of the president and just got his sentence commuted, so he's out of jail and free to roam. Roger Stone. Here's what he was up to back in 2000.
Roger Stone comes up with the brilliant idea of getting Pat Buchanan out of the Republican line and to get him to run for the Reform Party.
Yes, I encourage him to run, but I also, I have an interest in the Reform Party imploding at that point.
But just when Buchanan hoped to have the political stage to himself, he was trumped. Businessman Donald Trump announcing today he too will switch from the GOP to the Reform Party.
You see what happened there? Buchanan is a threat to the Republicans because he's going to split the Republican vote. Roger Stone gets him over to the Reform Party and then gets Donald Trump to jump in as well. The Republican Party has to do this kind of thing. It's been doing it since Nixon, obviously, and probably before, but particularly now. It is not a majoritarian party. It is not even close. And when you start strategizing how to keep the presidency with the minority of voters, when you accept you represent a minority, this is what it starts to look like. Lane Ruland scampering into that office, voter suppression, improper influence from your cronies in government, and that cynical effort to use Kanye West to your advantage.